what that suggested, and it was backed up with this testing where we saw, that the progesterone is a lot lower than it should be relative to the estrogen. This can also help to explain why she was experiencing a lot of PMS, and her mood was an issue. Also, these things tend to be very much linked in with adrenal fatigue, so it supported the idea that she was in stage 3 adrenal fatigue. Another key finding on these tests was that she had low melatonin levels. Not excessively low, but they were lower than we really should be expecting in a healthy individual. Now, melatonin is largely produced in the gut, so this is a great insight into what's going on in the digestive system, suggests poor digestive health, which aligned with some of the symptoms that she was presenting. Also, melatonin, the most important hormone when it comes to sleep, it's your body's main sleep hormone, so we could understand why she was also feeling quite fatigued, because the quality of sleep she would have been getting with those levels of melatonin would have been much reduced in terms of the quality. Another quick point to add here is the experience of using this testing with a lot of my clients. It's been extremely insightful into understanding why they have what they have going on, and again, I can certainly share my own personal experience of this, where I had adrenal fatigue, where I had adrenal fatigue myself, stage 2, and I found from that it explained why I was having sleep problems, explained why I had low energy at certain points in the day, and woke up tired as well. Now, common complaints that we see in the 21st century, and obviously using some of the protocols to correct these, I managed to completely turn that around. So another test that I do quite early on, usually with the adrenal test, is actually to see what's going on in the liver, because this can give us clues as well as to what's going on in other areas of the body. And what we can tell from Jane's test here is that her liver was a bit sluggish. And this all really works really well together when we test with the adrenals, because the two tests combined can really give us insights into what's going on for an individual in terms of their hormonal health, in terms of the digestive system, in terms of the detoxification and immune system. So these are the systems I talked about right at the beginning of this video, that determine our experience of health. So it's really important to get some insight about what's going on in these systems for a lot of people, because it can really explain why they have the symptoms and the state of health that they're currently experiencing. And the other reason to know about this is it can reveal some blocking factors, because left alone you're not going to heal, the body's not going to heal itself. It often needs support, especially if someone's in a stage 3 adrenal fatigue. Without any outside external help, the body's simply not going to be strong enough to be able to repair itself. So it's really important to see and discover if these are big issues. So knowing that she was in stage 3 adrenal fatigue and lots of other associated imbalances in terms of the hormones, the next step really was to try and identify why she was in that stage. Obviously there was a lot to do with her lifestyle, perhaps a bit to do with her mindset, but we needed to see if there was anything else. Was there any hidden internal stressors that could be driving this? And so some of our tests tended to suggest this. The low melatonin levels tends to indicate digestive issues. So the next question really was to investigate, is there any internal stress that's behind this? So the next panel we ran was to actually look at her gut more closely and to see what was going on there. And so this gives us clues as to what's going on in the intestinal barrier, the mucosal barrier of the gut, which is so important to our health. And what it revealed is there's an imbalance in terms of good bacteria in the gut, a gut dysbiosis. And the really interesting thing about this test is it suggested that apart from that, everything was okay. Now this didn't really tie up with everything else we knew about Jane. All her symptoms she was presenting, her adrenal fatigue, etc., all the imbalances in the hormones and the low melatonin all suggested that there was problems in the gut. Nothing happens in the body in isolation, so it would make logical sense to see that the gut was shutting down here. Yet some of the results here tend to suggest otherwise. Because lab tests are just a snapshot of what's going on in the body, it's important not to just base all conclusions on lab tests. It needs to be taken in context of everything else going on for the person, for the client. So this is where we start to peel almost different pieces of the jigsaw. And this particular piece just didn't fit. So I went with a decision that this, for some whatever reason, this wasn't an accurate picture, or this isn't an accurate reflection of what's going on. So we continued to look a bit further, and the next test we ran was to actually look at what was going on. Was there any kind of infection, like some of the other testing was suggesting? And when we tested for this, we did a stool analysis, and this revealed that there was in fact a bacterial and parasitic infection present. And so this is really important to get, because if this is present, if these things are present, it cause so much internal damage to the digestive tract. You're not going to heal the gut, and most importantly, it's going to cause lots of stress on the body, lots of stress on the adrenal glands, and you never recover the adrenal glands, even when you make the best diet and lifestyle changes, you take the right supplements, etc. So it's really important to know what we're dealing with. And so this is why I made that call to do this test, and it would prove to be the right decision, because we found that there was some kind of parasitic infection present, and that obviously supported the idea that the gut was actually starting to shut down. So we then brought in some protocols. We were already following some protocols to help repair the adrenals. We added in some to rid the body of these parasites, to give the body some assistance there. So whilst it's important to get rid of these infections, these forms of infections, we must also make sure that we're repairing the health of the individual, because otherwise these bacteria and parasites are just going to keep coming back. So that's where we're doing a lot of work on the adrenals and the detoxification. We did quite a bit of work on the detoxification, as well as obviously on the diet and lifestyle choices too. Another key area of internal stressors to the body is the area of food sensitivities, which are quite common too. And this was certainly the case for Jane. We can see on there, on this is part of her test results, which shows that her she's reacting, her body's reacting, her immune system's reacting to certain foods. We can see on this that foods that we commonly associate as being healthy, things like grapes and pears and lettuce, onions, are actually causing some reaction in her gut, with her immune system, which would be causing damage to the gut and causing all sorts of other problems associated to the immune system reacting to the foods. And this can cause